Hello everyone, welcome back to another class of our daily current affairs. These are the topics that we have taken today. So let's start the class. The first topic is Trump's renewed push to acquire Greenland. It was my news asile. This topic is important for GS paper 2. So আমি চাই লওঁ নিউজটো আমি জানো যে গ্ৰীণলেণ্ড এটা আমাৰ ৱৰ্ল্ডৰ লাৰ্জেষ্ট আইলেণ্ড হয় and an autonomous territory of Denmark, which is a NATO member. Okay, so Greenland world's largest island hoy and is an autonomous territory of Denmark, a NATO member. And the island hold immense strategic importance due to its location between North America and Europe and proximity to the Arctic region. So North America or Europe মাজত locate কৰে আৰু Arctic regionৰ লগত ওচৰত হয়. So it holds a very strategic importance. আৰু during his first term, Donald Trump floated the idea of buying Greenland. That was back in 2019, which was dismissed as symbolic rhetoric. So to dismiss কৰি দিয়া গৈছিলে. আৰু এতিয়া in 2026, following a forceful US operation in Venezuela, Trump has revived and escalated this ambition, refusing to rule out military or coercive options. So finally, আমি দেখা পাইছো যে US is talking about capturing Greenland again after this recent forceful operation in Venezuela. So that's why it came to news. So আমি চাই লওঁ Greenland matter কিয় কৰে strategically. Greenland কিয় important হয়, Greenland কিয় capture কৰিব বিচাৰিছে, acquire কৰিব বিচাৰিছে. So military and security importance যদি আমি চাওঁ, Greenland sits astride the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap. Okay, so Greenland, Iceland, UK যোনটো gap আছে, so it is a critical maritime choke point. Okay, আৰু সেইখিনিতে Greenland আছে, right? আৰু it hosts an existing US military base that is used for missile early warning system and Arctic surveillance, and control over Greenland enhances dominance over Atlantic sea lanes during major conflict. So হেতুৱে যে গ্ৰীণলেণ্ডৰ ওপৰত যদি ডমিনেন্স থাকে তেতিয়া Atlantic sea conflictৰ সময়ত মানে Atlantic sea ওপৰত major dominance থাকিব, control থাকিব. So it also hosts a military base, US military base that use missile early warning system, that has missile early warning system and Arctic surveillance. So hetu karne important hoy. So military and security importance ami sai lolo. Ite Arctic geopolitics ot ami jodi saw, ami gom pao je melting ice caps are opening. Ite ice caps bilak bahut melt hoy ase, right? Or hetu karne ki hoise new shipping routes bilak ulai ase. So bilak jaga agote frozen asil, he bilak jaga ite shipping routes create hoise jot mane ships bilakor travel কৰিবলৈ কাৰণে মানে এটা জায়গা পৰা ইটো জায়গালৈ যাবলৈ কাৰণে এটা পসিবল হৈছে যোনটো আগতে নহৈছিল আৰু বহুত আনটেপড ৰিসোৰ্সেসও এক্সেস হৈছে এটা বহুত ৰিসোৰ্সেসও আমাৰ পোৱা গৈছে যোনবিলাক আগতে ডিউ টু আইস কেপস গ্লেচিয়াৰ্স এণ্ড অল আগতে মানে দবি আছিলে লুকাই আছিলে এতিয়া সেইবিলাক বস্তু আনটেপড কৰা গৈছে পটেনশিয়ালটো বাঢ়িছে to access those resources. So Arctic to এনেকুৱা এটা জোন হিচাপে ইমাৰ্জ কৰি আছে যত বহুত বেছি কেপেবিলিটি আছে আৰু বহুত গ্ৰেট পাৱাৰ কম্পিটিশন ইনভলভ হৈ আছে যেনেকে USA, ৰাছিয়া, চাইনা. সো আৰ্টিক ৰিজনটো বহুত বেছি স্ট্ৰেটেজিক্যালি ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হৈ আছে তা জিঅ'পলিটিক্স চলি আছে আৰ্টিক ৰিজনটোৰ কাৰণে. ওকে, সো ইকনমিক এণ্ড ৰিসোৰ্স ইন্টাৰেষ্ট যদি আমি চাওঁ আমি জানো যে গ্ৰীণলেণ্ড বহুত ৰিচ হয় ফৰ ৰেয়াৰ আৰ্থ মিনাৰেলছ ক্ৰিটিকেল ফৰ that is very important for electronic vehicles, semiconductor and defense technologies. Then offshore oil and gas reserves বহুত আছে. Rare earth access is crucial as the US seeks to reduce dependence. So আমি জানো যে চাইনা rare earth minerals or বহুত ৰিচ হয় চাইনা rare earth minerals ৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত. So চাইনাৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ডেন্সও কমাবৰ কাৰণে ইউএছৰ কাৰণে বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হয় যে এক্সেস টু ৰেয়াৰ আৰ্থৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত এপ্ৰোপ্ৰিয়েটলি মিনাৰেলছ খিনি এক্সট্ৰেক্ট কৰিব পাৰে, এক্সেস খিনি আনিব পাৰে যাতে চাইনাৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হ'ব নালাগে. So Trump's approach is controversial because it contradicts with international law. যেনেকে Greenland's people and Denmark have repeatedly stated that island is not for sale. Any forcible acquisition would violate UN Charter and the principle of sovereignty and a rule-based international order, so it will violate all this international law. So it is contradicting with it. Aru eta threat who ase for NATO because Denmark is a NATO ally, and military coercion would undermine Article 5 that talks about collective defense, and also it will potentially collapse NATO unity to juntu ase hetu potentially collapse koribo pare. So former NATO commander warn korise that this could mark the end of NATO as we know it. So it could be an end of NATO buliu koise. Aru shift in US foreign policy approach jodi ami sao etia amar Trumpor action khini ki korise agote liberal internationalism pra ite neo imperialist realism pale move kori ase boli koise mane ki it emphasis on more power, territorial control and resource acquisition heblakor oporte etia mane move hoy ase boli koise shift hoy ase Trump's action or through ami gom paisu neo imperialistic realism that emphasizes on power, international control and resource acquisition. মানে নিজৰ পাৱাৰটোৰ ওপৰত নিজৰ টেৰিটৰীৰ ওপৰত কন্ট্ৰোল আৰু ৰিসোৰ্স কিমান বেছি একুৱায়াৰ কৰিব পাৰে হেতুৰ ওপৰত বেছি ফোকাস instead of that living in peace and harmony with all the other countries. Mirrors 19th century expansionist US policy junto asile Louisiana Purchase, Hawaiian annexation heblak amar pastot ase tenko example junto expansionist US policy asile hetu ami ako etia dekhibole pai aso through these actions. European response jodi ami sao joint declaration by leaders of France, Germany, Italy, UK, Poland, Spain, they reaffirmed that Greenland belongs to its people. Denmark also warned that any forced action would destroy transatlantic trust. So it beta bahut threat eta ahise junto sobe voice uthaise eto against junkhini ami salo leaders bilake joint declaration by these countries' leaders. Implication for the global order, it will weaken US moral authority against Russia and China. It encourages a world order based on might over rules, and it raises concern of selective adherence to international law. Okay, so these are the implications for the global order. It weakens US moral authority. So try these questions based on this topic. Let's move on to the next topic, that is magnetically driven nanorobots, a new frontier in targeted cancer chemotherapy. This topic is important for GS paper 3. So conventional chemotherapy, ami jano agote conventional ways chemotherapy juntu kore hetue ki hoy drugs khini through the bloodstream transfer kore of the patient that কি হয় ক্যান্সারের সেল খিনি তো মৰিয়ে যায় থ্ৰু দ্যাট ট্ৰিটমেন্ট তাৰ লগতে হেলদি সেলস বিলাকো হাৰ্ম কৰে বহুত আৰু হেতু কাৰণে বহুত বেছি সাইড এফেক্টসও আমি দেখা পাওঁ সাইড এফেক্টস যেনেকে পেলা কি ইমিউন সাপ্ৰেশন হৈ যায় ইমিউনিটি টু উইক হৈ যায় কাৰ্ডিয়াক টক্সিলজি হৈ যায় টক্সিসিটি আমি দেখা পাওঁ হেয়াৰ লস হয় নজিয়া fatigue হেখিনি আমি সিভিয়াৰ সাইড এফেক্ট আমি দেখা পাওঁ সো টিউমাৰ themselves create barrier due to dense tissue structure, abnormal blood vessel, and biological heterogeneity. So despite decade of research, efficient tumor-targeted drug delivery remains one of oncology's biggest challenges. So tumor to is at effect kore, tumor to jate ami otorabo paro. Baki amar healthy junblak cells ba belek junblak side effect nathakake okol tumor targeted drug delivery to eta challenge hui ase oncologist oncology khetrot etia leke eta biggest challenge asil, right? So etio ami dekha pa it is one of the biggest challenge. A news to bahut eta dangor news eta it's a big breakthrough boli koise because scientists eta develop korise eta magnetically driven bionic carbo nanorobotic technology that is capable of actively swimming through blood vessel and overcoming blood flow resistance and delivering chemotherapy drugs directly to tumors. So blood vessel through this swim kori exactly tumors into location ase he khini jagat he he chemo drug to mane এফেক্ট মানে ৱৰ্ক কৰিব এফেক্টিভলি বাকি মানে বেলেগ ব্লাড ভেছেলত হওক তাতে একো মানে এফেক্ট নকৰে ব্লাড ফ্ল'টো একো মানে ৰেজিষ্টেঞ্চ নানে বুলি কৈছে চ' একজেক্টলি যোনটো জেগাত এফেক্টেড এৰিয়াখিনিতহে ট্ৰিটমেণ্টটো দিব তাৰ বাহিৰে হেল্ডি চেলছবিলাকত একো প্ৰব্লেম নকৰে আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে একো বেলেগ ছাইড এফেক্টো নহ'ব বুলি কোৱা গৈছে আৰু আনলাইক কনভেনশ্যনেল নেনো পাৰ্টিকলছ দিছ নেনো ৰবটছ আৰ এক্টিভলি গাইডেড ইউজিং এক্সটাৰ্নেল মেগনেটিক ফিল্ড এক্সটাৰ্নেল মেগনেটিক ফিল্ড ইউজ কৰি পেলাই এইটো গাইড কৰা হ'ব চ' ইট উইল বি একুৰেট বুলি কোৱা গৈছে How the nanorobot system works? Made of ultra-small iron oxide nanoparticles are bana that are coated with polyethylene glycol for stability and biocompatibility. And chemotherapy drug doxorubicin is chemically bound for controlled release. A 3D magnetic manipulation platform steer nanorobots precisely to tumor size. Eta 3D magnetic manipulation platform eta use kori pelai ekol precisely mane tumor size khinithe nanorobots khinik steer koribo. Aru key scientific innovation jodi sa swarm like behavior nanorobots can rearrange, disperse, form vortices, move directionally, active navigation and overcome psychological resistance like passive drug delivery. Aru deep tumor penetration so drug concentration inside tumor found to be 10 times higher than conventional method. Our immune activation it alters tumor microenvironment and convert cold tumors into immune responsive one. Our real-time tracking iron oxide allow MRI based monitoring of drug delivery. Evidence and global collaboration. Major study conducted by Institution of High Energy Physics and University of Chinese Academy of Sciences. Parallel research from India also published in Nature by Dr. D.Y. Patil Institute, Pune, indicates a global shift towards intelligent programmable drug delivery system. It is about a revolutionary step buli ami kobo paru, eta development buli ami kobo paru in our drug delivery system. Our conventional chemotherapy ke etu kyo beleg buli koise because it are highly targeted drug delivery aru reduce systemic toxicity side effect to bahut kom thakibo aru survival rate bahut improve hoise aru potential ase for early cancer detection to very important hoy jate cancer to cure kobo pari early stage at pale মানে কিউৰ হোৱাৰ চান্স বেছি থাকে we know that so হেতু early detection অটো বহুতখিনি potential আছে বুলি কৈছে current limitation to এটোৱে যে এটা still এটা pre clinical stage অতে আছে animal testing হৈ আছে হেতু এতিয়া মানে এটা human testing অৰ কাৰণে এটো suitable হোৱাগে নাই so এটা বহুত preliminary stage অতে আছে challenges include কি challenges safety validation in humans cost and scalability regulatory approval অৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত clinical application likely in the next 8 to 10 years so that's long procedure right it's a dighol eta dangor eta journey hoy hetu eta challenge costly hoy then significance for India rising cancer burden is pushing people towards so it's very important that we push towards precision medicine make in India biomedical innovation strengthen India's role in current age paramedical research so we have known that the shift from passive drug diffusion to programmable image-guided nanorobots present a paradigm shift towards precision oncology, which is very important in the present time. Aru ami jolly jodi ebur innovations mane ebur jolly jodi effective way ami anibo paro that will help all the people immensely. So it is a good news. Aha koru jolly ke ebur applicable hoy jate sobe etur benefit belak lobo pare bhalke. So try to attempt these questions based on this topic. Let's move on to the next topic. India soft power repatriation of Piprahua relics and diplomacy of peace. This topic is important for GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. So in January 2026, the Prime Minister inaugurated the Light and the Lotus relic of the Awakened One, that is an international exhibition of Piparva Buddhist relic in New Delhi. So Prime Minister inaugurate korile the Light and the Lotus Relic of the Awakened One, which is an international exhibition of Piprahwa Buddhist relics in New Delhi. The event coincided with the repatriation of sacred Buddhist relics that has been taken out of India during the colonial period and were nearly auctioned abroad. So the episode highlights India's growing use of soft power through cultural diplomacy, especially rooted in Buddhist heritage. Okay. So Piprahwa relics hoy ki? It was excavated in 1898 by William Claxton Pepe from a Buddhist stupa at Piprahwa, Siddharthanagar, Uttar Pradesh near Nepal. It includes relic hoy from excavated from a Buddhist stupa in near Nepal, Uttar Pradesh. It includes 349 gemstones, including pearls, rubies, sapphire, topaz, gold sheets, and bronze fragment and ashes delivered to be of Lord Buddha, and reliquaries, soapstone, and crystal caskets. Archaeologically and spiritually linked to early Buddhism and Mauryan era relic worship. Then post-era disposition under the Indian Treasure Trove Act 1987, the British Crown claimed most relic. Claim kori loisile British Crown de, or a portion remained with the Pepe family that held privately for over 127 years. It reflects border colonial extraction of India's cultural heritage. Threat of auction and India's response. Jodi ami sao, threat hoise Sotheby Hong Kong's listed the relics for auction in 2025. Estimated value over $100 million, treated as antique collectibles, ignoring their sacred religious nature. So, hetu teneke auction kora hol. So, India action ki korile? India Ministry of Culture issued a legal notice demanding cancellation, asserted this relic as an inalienable cultural and religious heritage of India. ASI and diplomatic channels were mobilized. Then innovative resolution jodi ami sao. So Godrej group ki korile? They purchased the relics, and relics were returned to India and loaned to the National Museum for 5 years, which is a very good news for us. And it avoided ethical issue of the state directly purchasing sacred object by directly purchasing the sacred object. India's soft power at work jodi sao. Buddhist diplomacy. Buddhism is as a sacred civilizational link with Asia and beyond. Exhibition inspired millions in Thailand, Mongolia, Vietnam, Russia. So symbolic diplomacy, gifting Bodhi tree sapling to countries like China, Japan, Korea, Mongolia. A Bodhi tree in Hiroshima symbolizes peace after nuclear devastation. PM's message, that is strategic restraint with moral leadership. It emphasized strength against enemies of humanity, dialogue, and peace in resolving disputes. It reflects India's doctrine of strategic restraint and civilizational ethics, and Buddha's philosophy of working together instead of conflict and dominance. It reiterated India's ethos, that is Sarvajan Vitaya, Sarvajan Sukhaya. Then preservation of Buddhist heritage jodi sao. International jodi sao ami, restoration of 11 pagoda in Bagan, Myanmar. Then assistance to Nepal after earthquake damage. Domestic Buddhist circuit development, promotion of Pali as a classical language, infrastructure of heritage conservation and accessibility. Challenges ase jeneke colonial era legal ambitions are on ownership. Colonial era legal ambiguities on ownership, limited enforceability of UNESCO 1970 Convention for pre-1970 removal, commercialization of sacred objects by global auction houses, the need for a global database for stolen Indian antiquities. Ekhine challenges hoy. Then way forward যদি আমি চাওঁ, it strengthened international cooperation on cultural prosperity protection and it proactive cultural diplomacy using Buddhism, yoga, and civilizational narrative, blend law, ethics, diplomacy, and private partnership for heritage recovery. The return of the Piprahua relics represent not merely the recovery of artifacts, but the reclamation of India's civilizational voice in global diplomacy. So it was a recovery of artifacts. It is like reclaiming our civilizational voice in global diplomatic situations environment. So try to attempt this MCQ and a mains question related to this. Let's move on to the next topic, that is NGT notice on environmental violation in trade trapezium zone. This topic is important for GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. So recently the National Green Tribunal issued a notice to the Union government and the UP government over alleged non-compliance with environmental norms in the Taj trapezium zone. So National Green Tribunal eta notice dise Union government aru UP government je over alleged non-compliance with environmental norm in the junkhini environmental norm ase Taj trapezium zone logot hekhini non-compliance hoise boli teoloke notice eta dise. The notice highlight korise je rampant construction bahut hoi ase, illegal felling trees bilak illegally kati dia goi ase, tree cover green cover bahut komi ahise, hetu karone bahut bird or butterflies or khetroto bahut hetor habitat bilakot disturbances ahise. Aru a violation bilake ki kore eta threat anise to the ecological balance and conservation of the Taj Mahal, juntu amar eta bahut important ta UNESCO World Heritage Site hoy, right? 7 wonder of the world, right? So bahut important Taj Mahal hoy amar karone, gute prithibikhonor karone, aru hetu eta ecological threat eta amar anise in conservation and in balance. Background jodi ami saw, Taj trapezium zones ki hoy? It is an eco-sensitive zone of 10,400 square kilometer around the Taj Mahal. It covers Agra, Mathura, Firozabad and surrounding region. Taj Mahal akhe pakhe junkhini zone ase eco-sensitive zone 10,400 square kilometer hekhini ke ami Taj trapezium zone boli jano. It includes Taj Mahal, Agra Fort and Fatehpur Sikri. Established following the MC Mehta versus Union of India case in 1996, objective ki asile hetue Taj Mahal khon jate ami protect kori rakhibo paro from air and water pollution, aru we can regulate industries, construction, vehicular emission and deforestation in that area. Hetue objective hoy jate ami hebla control kori rakhibo paro. Pollution concern, airborne pollutant causes yellowing and blackening. Ami khunui suwe je Taj Mahalor color to etia well yellow hoy goi ase, blackening hoy goi ase, agor nisina juntu charm juntu spark asil hetu eta nuhua hoy goi ase due to pollution, right? Which is a matter of great concern, and it is known as stone cancer. Major sources, industries, brick kilns, vehicular emission, construction dust eblakor karone hoy ase to stone cancer boli koa goise. Institutional mechanisms jodi saw, Trust Trapezium Zone Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, created under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Role hoise to regulate industrial activity, enforce pollution norm and coordinate conservation measure. Under Environmental Protection Act, Trust Trapezium Zones Pollution Authority bonwa goisile. Then judicial safeguard jodi ami MC Mehta case, Supreme Court ban korisil felling of 3 within 5 kilometer aerial distance of the Taj Mahal. Then role of National Green Tribunal, statutory body under NGT Act 2010. It mandates civil speedy disposal of environmental cases and enforcement of Environment Protection Act 1986, Water Act 1974, Air Act 1981, can impose environmental compensation and restoration measure. It doesn't cover Wildlife Protection Act or does not cover Wildlife Protection Act and Forest Rights Act 2006. Significance of the NGT notice, it reinforces judicial oversight in heritage conservation and it also highlights governance gap in eco-sensitive zone. So kiman governance gap hoy ase hetu highlight korise or judicial oversight to reinforce korise heritage conservation khetrot. It balances development needs and environmental sustainability. strengthens India's commitment to UNESCO obligations, sustainable tourism. So environmental protection of heritage site is not just a luxury, right? But it is a constitutional obligation under Article 48A and 51AG. Try to attempt these questions based on this topic. Let's move on to the next topic, that is meaning of Terrorist Act under UAPA, Supreme Court expanded interpretation. This topic is important for GS paper 2. So recently Supreme Court decided bail pleas in the 2020 Northeast Delhi riot case. Bail grant to 5 accused, denied to Umar Khahid and Kharjil Imam. All accused were charged under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, Armed Act and IPC provision. And the ruling goes beyond bail and redefines how Terrorist Act is understood under Section 15 of UAPA. So, key legal issue before the court. So, what constitutes a Terrorist Act under UAPA? How prolonged pre-trial incarceration justify bail under UAPA? Can protest-related action be categorized as terrorism? Hierarchy of role in the Allied conspiracy. Supreme Court approach jodi sao. Court rejected the idea that all accused stand on equal footing, introduced a hierarchy of culpability. Principal accused, bail denied for Umar Khalid and Kharjil Imam, described as mastermind, ideological driver. They were described as masterminds and ideological driver. Alleged role, conceptualization, direction, and orchestration of protest. Acquisition of planning, coordinated Chakka jam to paralyze Delhi. Co-accused, jak bail grant korile, characterized as low-level facilitators, site-level executors, role were derivative, not directive, and continued incarceration deemed disproportionate. How UAPA defined a terrorist act? A act committed with intent to UAPA terrorist act to keneke define kore jetia eta act kora jay kiba ta action lua jay with content hetu monot rakhi pelai je etu jani buji jetia kora jay that je he action can threaten unity, integrity and security, sovereignty or economic security of India, that is known as terrorist activity, and that can strike terror among people. Include use of bomb use kora hoy, firearms, explosives or any other means that use kori pelai threaten kora hoy unity, integrity and security of India, etia eta terrorist activity boli koa jay. Our core legal debate jodi ami sao, defense argument, Chakka jam and road blockades are legitimate democratic protest. Any other means should be read narrowly as violent means only. Supreme Court's interpretation rejected narrow reading and held that intent, design, scale, coordination and effect matter more than the weapon used. Supreme Court ete kole je narrow reading to reject korile aru kole je intent to matter kore, design, scale, coordination and effect besi matter kore more than key weapon use kora goise. And sustained and synchronized disruption of civic life when strategically planned can threaten national integrity. And timing of actions, example during Donald Trump's India visit, strengthens prima facie inference of terror intent. Our key principles of this sound, terrorism is defined not merely by tools but by planned impact and strategic intent. Impact on bail, section 43D5 UAPA, bail barred if accusations are prima facie true. And court relied on witness statements, digital chats, meeting records. Court may grant bail if trial delay violates Article 21. And Supreme Court's clarification, delay is not an automatic override of UAPA bail restriction. It acts as a trigger for closer scrutiny, not a trump card. Delay must be weighed against gravity of offense, role of accused, and complexity of trial. Broader implications of the sound, legal. Expand scope of section 18 of UAPA, 15 UAPA. Lower threshold for categorizing non-violent act as terrorism and strengthen procedural discretion. Civil liberties raises concern of criminalization of dissent, prolonged pre-trial detention, and it reignites debate on balance between national integrity and fundamental rights. Try to attempt these questions based on this topic. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next class. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.